Welcome to the show. I'm JJ Flizanes, your host. Thank you for downloading today's episode. Today we're going to talk about the addiction to confusion. This will be a solo show. It's been a while since I've done one here. I do them often, in fact, and I will start adding guests and other things into the Inner Circle, but I do many Q&As in our Inner Circle membership, which is $9.99 a month. And actually, this week, we have our live coaching call. So if you're interested or you've been thinking about getting involved in the Inner Circle membership, the live coaching session is on Thursday evening. And again, that's jjflizanes.com/inner circle, and there is a 7-day free trial. So before we get to the addiction to confusion, I just want to acknowledge a few things and have a few announcements, which of course will also be in the show notes. So you can click see more, or where, depending on whatever podcast player you use, the show notes will have all the links that I'm talking about. So the first is, in case you think I sound a little tired, I am. It's funny how I am launching health and wealth, and I may kill myself in the process here. It's definitely a slightly out of balance, but I am making up for that by celebrating my birthday in Italy. So for anyone who lives in Paris or northern Italy, or you're willing to come up to the Milan, Turin, Torino, Venice area, I will be traveling for my birthday with a 10-day off. I mean, we'll be working, but 10 days off to relax and rest. And of course, there'll be days off between now and then anyway. So what have I been up to? Well, I had a podcast masterclass, a live one with Doug over the weekend, and it was received so well, and they got so much value, and there were so many people on Doug's list and mine that asked if we would do it in a webinar form. Well, okay. You win. We'll do it. So that link for that webinar, which is February 11th, it's Tuesday, February 11th, it will be recorded in case you can't make it. It is at 11 a.m. Pacific time. It is turnkeypodcast.com/masterclass. So that link will be below. But we are doing a webinar on podcasting because our friends Joe and Matt surveyed 1,000 podcasters, and 85% of them make $0. Now, I already knew many people didn't make any money, but I didn't realize out of the 1,000 people they surveyed, it would be so high. So $0, not, they don't make $10,000, they make $0. So if you're a podcaster, or you want to start a podcast and you want to do it right, or you want to learn how to leverage a podcast, I invite you to our free masterclass on February 11th. Check the show notes for the link to that. Now that was all day on my feet, and him on his feet, and all the prep and all that. And then at the same time, I've been in preparation for launching my new podcast called Health and Wealth. So for those of you that want even more free information, I would say that 80% of what is on Health and Wealth right now is brand new content you've never heard before. There are a few shows I have repurposed very specifically in the order in which they are published, because I wanted to give a feeling to Health and Wealth, and I wanted new people who don't know me to understand the journey I want to take them on, and not think this was just going to be about, let's talk about nutrition and food and exercise and sleep, and let's talk about making money. I wanted to make a deeper connection to the two. So if you're interested, you can go over there today and check out Health and Wealth Podcast. Now, to celebrate the Health and Wealth podcast launch, I am doing a live stream. So today is Tuesday, January 28th. The live stream is happening tomorrow, Wednesday, the 29th of January, 2020. I invite you to check it out. I will be live streaming about 15 different guests that I've interviewed that will have amazing tips for you on what makes them the most amount of money and or balance in their life. And they'll also have a free gift for you. So that will be healthandwealthlivestream.com. That link will take you to whatever platform works for you. Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm literally going to be live streaming everywhere. So healthandwealthlivestream.com. If you miss the live stream, which is okay, I just want to give everybody an option to check it out. You can also receive $2,000 worth, more than $2,000 worth of free gifts from those guests that I'm going to have on the live stream at healthandwealthgifts.com. And one of those gifts is a free session with me. So if you've ever thought about having a consultation or having a session, I don't sell single sessions. I only sell single sessions occasionally on a webinar as a special, as a 24-hour deal or like a 12-hour deal. But this is a free gift that you can get, and you go to healthandwealthgifts.com. If you're going there on Tuesday, the 28th, the page might not be completely done, so please forgive me. We're working hard over here to get a lot of things done over the last 2 weeks, which is why I'm looking forward to having some time off here very shortly. So let's talk about the addiction to confusion. If you're new to my show, I talk about addiction on several shows. I've had a couple experts talk about addiction. And, really addiction, when we come down to it, is really an avoidance. It's a habit or pattern that we continue to avoid being present in our body, feeling our feelings, and being present with whatever truth it is we're trying to avoid. And on a heart addiction, a lot of people do, let's say, tobacco or alcohol, maybe another kind of drug that's a heart addiction. And for some of those harder addictions, often there's a chemical component. And the majority of people think that addiction is chemical, maybe because you think it's brain chemistry related. But as I've talked about over and over again on several shows, unless you test your brain chemistry, you are making a guess. And if you're someone who eats a lot of sugar and carbohydrates and coffee and caffeine, and you're between the ages of 38 and 55, then your depression is most likely a hormonal imbalance and actually not, and could be coming from your food. So looking at addiction and chemical imbalance, don't be so quick to decide you have a chemical imbalance. In fact, that's the least amount of people that have addictive behaviors and issues. So when we look at addiction and chemicals, even tobacco, if you have an addiction to tobacco or someone that you know, after 72 hours, it's out of your system. Everything past that is behavioral and emotional and mental. And that is the point of addiction. We are all addicted to something or many things. We all have a way of avoiding our feelings and avoiding being present. So I want to talk about the addiction to confusion because it's a new one for me. And it also could be looked at as addiction to your story. But where I find there's a difference is the few people that I've been noticing and been helping and clients and attendees of events and things that really kind of illuminated this idea of you're addicted to being confused is because it was the fear of what's on the other side of it. And it's different than being a victim to your story, because oftentimes people who are addicted to their story, let's say you're a victim. Victim mentality is also an addiction. If I'm always a victim, I never need to do anything about it. If I'm a victim, someone else is always responsible for my feelings, and someone else always has to do something differently in order for me to feel differently. It's a kind of power struggle that we go through, the addiction to being a victim. And the addiction to your story could be literally just, I can't do that because of X, Y, and Z. Again, it's a choice to decide that you can't do something because you've decided that your projection of what will happen is accurate, right? And I'm smiling because if you really hear that, a lot of us have fear about something. We make up a story about why we can't do it. We defend our limitations about it. We decide that it's true, but here's the thing, guys. It hasn't even happened. You don't even have proof that what you think might happen, and the reason why you're so darn convinced that it can't happen the way you want it to happen, it hasn't even happened. You're making it up. You're making up a story. So back to the addiction to confusion, I noticed this very succinctly when one of my favorite clients, you know who you are, and there's a bunch of you actually that I've been noticing doing this too, got wrapped up in, I really want to change, I really want to grow, I really want results in all areas of my life. And I'm spending the money, I'm spending the time, I'm aware, I'm making progress in many areas. But then we come to the scariest area, or maybe the scariest two areas. What happens is you tell yourself, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know what to do. I don't know why this isn't working. I don't know what to do. And I understand that there are times where we don't know what to do and we're not clear yet. I'm not clear yet. But what I happen to notice in some behavior patterns with people, and again, I've seen this over the course of the last couple of months with, I'd say, 5 or 6 different people. The patterning becomes, I don't know what to do, therefore I'm doing nothing. But I'm going to stay in the energy of confusion, which makes me uneasy and unhappy, to create more of a problem, hoping that that problem pushes me closer to an answer. Let me break that down and unpack that for you. When you decide you don't know what something is, and it's actually not true most of the time, most of us, so this particular client, and again, handful of clients, I'm thinking of several people right now, who have stayed confused. I don't know, I hear. And when you actually get down to it, and even myself, so let me give you my example. So let's say last night I couldn't sleep very well. And for the past couple of nights, it's not couple of nights, but for the past 2 weeks, the deadlines that I've been under and the pressure that I've had, I'm going to say, has caused more mental activity. And it's not every night. It's probably every second or third night, but it absolutely was last night when I couldn't sleep for a little while. I wasn't up all night. I ended up doing some tapping, EFT. I had some tea, and I did a little Ho'oponopono, and I got to sleep just fine. But what I recognized today when I was out on my walk with Doug was that I was harboring fear. I was harboring a lot of fear about some of the projections and goals that I have by myself and with him, and the shame and or pressure of not meeting that. And I've given myself a goal that I thought was attainable, and now I'm starting to doubt it, and I don't know that I can achieve it. So what happened is that my brain was moving all around trying to sit in this, I'm going to say, anxiety state. But again, anxiety isn't even a feeling. It's more like I was worried. Put on top of that, we had a conversation with someone who I attached a little bit of, like, I was being blamed or I was looked at as taking something away from them. And I took that to heart. And internally, I was defensive. Internally, I was mad. Internally, I was trying to battle what the right answer was. I didn't know. And I also didn't want to talk about it because I had some pretty serious judgments about other things I didn't want to share. So here I am harboring all of these thoughts and feelings on multiple levels on top of this launch and on top of just getting done doing a podcast masterclass. Of course I can't sleep. Now, do you think mine's hormonal? It's not. I muscle tested if I needed hormones and I didn't. I didn't have too much coffee. I had 1 cup in the morning. I didn't have too much alcohol. I had half a glass of wine hours before bed. I ate great. I had a great day of paleo keto eating. So besides half a glass of wine. So when you look at all of the circumstances, it was about the time to go to sleep. Why couldn't I sleep? Well, at this point, most people think, well, I'm going to take a sleeping pill, or I'm going to knock myself out with some CBD, which that I would recommend over a sleeping pill, or I'm going to XYZ. But the root of it is emotional. And until we address the root of what the emotion is, then we're not going to have satisfaction, or we're not going to have the desired result that we want in whatever, like if it's sleeping, okay, or if it's not feeling anxious. Anxiety is just holding on to emotion that wants to be expressed, and you're not allowing yourself to express it. Let's talk about confusion, all right? So confusion is a block that most people use. I don't know. And it's okay to not know, but here's what it really means after it goes on for a long time. If you just stop long enough to be present, you'll get clarity. If you take yourself out of the frequency of confusion and use any of the practices from the Manifestation Challenge or any of the practices that I've shared on the show to get you in a better feeling state, any law of attraction practice will do. At some point, you will get clarity. It's hard for me to believe that after 5 months, 6 months, a year, someone doesn't really have clarity. It's because we're so damn busy that we're not sitting long enough to be honest with ourselves. So in the case of, let's say, one particular person, or an example would be if you have an issue going on with a friend, or let's say a partner or a family member or a child, and you are so afraid of that conversation that you make up a story about what happens if it goes wrong. And you make this story, you sit on this story and you sit with it and you make it bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, mind you, you're making up this story. And then when we dial back into, hey, let's start back at the beginning. Can you have the conversation? Now you've attached having a conversation with a dreaded outcome you've spent months or years creating that isn't true. So when we look at why am I confused? Why don't I know? What is it you are afraid of? And what is it you're not afraid to admit? When we come to the truth of what's underneath the confusion, so let's say having the conversation, that's step one. And it's okay to admit that you're not ready or that you're afraid. All you have to say to yourself is, okay, am I really confused? Do I really not know what to do? Or am I just blocking myself and keeping myself in this circular, crazy feeling because it's better than, and I know it, it's better than what happens if I have the conversation and the story that I made up comes true. So if you're someone who has been using confusion to block yourself from being present with whatever's going on for you, I just want to give you these permissions. Once you admit what it is you're afraid of, once you are honest with yourself about what it is you're avoiding and why, it doesn't mean you have to do it. You're allowed to say, I'm afraid and I'm not ready. But if you are using confusion, and then confusion leads to depression, and confusion leads to overeating and anxiety, confusion takes you down a path because you're too afraid to sit in the despair or the fear or the sadness of what happens if it doesn't go well. I'd invite you to maybe postpone your pain. It hasn't happened yet. Postpone this story altogether and be honest with yourself about what it is you're avoiding. Be honest with yourself about what it is that you want and why you're afraid. And then lovingly allow yourself just to admit the truth and not do anything right now. You get to say, I'm not ready. It's not the right time. When I was trying to save my marriage, it was never the right time, literally, until the day it was the right time for me to say, okay, you win, you can move out. But every moment until then, I was committed. I had hope. I had belief. It's not that I didn't have hope and belief. It's that my hope and belief changed to recognize that nothing was ever going to change in that environment of what the energy was. It was like confusion. It was like this circular, habitual, repetitive, unconscious behavior going on over and over again. And I realized until there's a change or a break in this energy, there won't be any clarity about what to do next. And if there's any hope here, it will be discovered in a different circumstance, in a different environment, away from our habits and patterns. So it is okay for you to take your time and be ready when you're ready. But I'm going to invite you, if this resonates with you and you are addicted to being confused, you're addicted to not knowing, you're addicted to not understanding, I'm going to offer that this is possibly a block that you're putting up because you're not ready to feel sad. You're not ready to feel the fear, or you think that admitting to it means you have to act on it right now. It doesn't. And just like Brené Brown talks about in her books, once you admit to it, once you shine the light on it, the charge around it disappears. It won't be the big scary thing you think it's going to be in the light, because it's the truth of what's going on right now. And again, the story you've created isn't real. It hasn't happened. So allow yourself and allow the people around you, allow your environment, allow your unfolding to happen to surprise you. While we're in the energy of addiction to confusion, I want to just mention addiction to overwhelm, and I want to mention addiction to fear and to not being ready and always not being ready, okay? There are times where we stop ourselves because it's new and we feel uncomfortable because we don't know something. And we think we need to go into things feeling confident as if we know something, or that it's something that we're going to be quizzed on. Oftentimes we stop ourselves because the shame that we feel, and because we feel like we look stupid or that we're not going to perform. that those things get in the way of growth. When you know you clearly want what's on the other side of that, but you stop yourself because you feel like, oh, I'm gonna fail at this. I'm gonna fail because I'm not quite as far along. So in the same energy of addicted to confusion, or having an addiction to confusion and, let's say, overwhelm and anxiety, think of confusion, anxiety, and overwhelm sometimes as a block to life. That there's a feeling going on inside of you, and any little thing could shoot you in overwhelm. And so we put a block up there because we don't want to deal with it. And sometimes if we take a moment and we retreat or we redirect or we pivot, it can go away. But if every time you look at a certain subject and you feel the same way, I would invite you to take a little deeper dive into what that means for you. I have found that a lot of people don't want to learn or change or grow because they feel stupid. And I would say that was probably one of the best things that has come out of me being an entrepreneur and podcasting. I had to learn how to video edit, audio edit, and all the things that go along with podcasting that were very outside of my comfort zone because it was new to me. But I also knew I had to do it because I wouldn't get my message out any other way that was as easy as this is, that was as pleasant and enjoyable as this is. And what it taught me was that I have a new faith, or I have a faith in my ability to learn. And I realized that a lot of people don't have that. You doubt your ability to learn. You feel lots of things come into your experience and you just decide that you don't know something, and then you feel stupid and you feel like I'm not good at it. So you stop yourself from learning. But isn't this a school of life? I mean, once you get out of grade school and high school, and if you go to college and even get your master's degree, then what? I mean, isn't life kind of like a school? And isn't your business, or isn't your family, your relationship, just another thing to master and learn new things about? So just something else to add in there. I've noticed it with the mastermind, and I'm hoping that some of you aren't sitting on the fence thinking that you're going to do it next year when I open up 2021, which will probably be at the end of 2020, because I'm going to offer it to the people in the group first in terms of renewal. It will never be cheaper than this, and the expense is actually quite minimal compared to anyone else's mastermind, and it's a guarantee. And it really is kind of silly because I'm giving a guarantee. If I can't help you make back this money, and if you can't make this money back in 12 months, then I shouldn't be doing this, and neither should you. It's that little of an investment, seriously. I mean, it's not peanuts. It's peanuts in comparison, but you're getting 14 other people's time. So it is January 28th. There are still a few spaces left. It will close. I really don't want you to sit on the fence if you're somebody who is wanting to make more money in 2020, wanting to move the needle in something for you. If you want to start building a vision for yourself, you don't even have to have it ready to go. But being in a creative environment with other people doing creative things and having us help you get into alignment with who you are to decide what's right for you. I'm not interested in having you start a business that isn't right for you, and neither are they. So if it's spoken to you and you're thinking, oh, I wish I could do it, but I probably can't. It's probably too much money. Again, it depends on the level of dedication you have to yourself. And if you're serious about making more money in 2020 and you want to break your habits and patterns, and you want to stop being confused, and you want to stop being overwhelmed, and you want to learn how to manage and to grow in a new way that takes your life beyond what you've been able to do by yourself, because there's nothing like a community of people to grow. It's amazing. And I'd love to invite you into it. If you're interested, please reach out to me. You know how to find me. But you can email me, jj@jjflizanes.com. Let's have a conversation, because I'm closing the group soon. And I'd hate for you to email me later and say, hey, is there still a space? Because if there isn't, then the price will triple next year. Okay, everybody. I hope today's show has given you some food for thought. I hope you'll check out the Health and Wealth live stream tomorrow, Wednesday, January 29th. And I definitely hope you'll check out the Health and Wealth gifts and get at least $2,000 worth of Health and Wealth goodies and virtual swag bag to help improve your life. And please check out the show.